I'll do. I've got a bit of a more, well, it's just, I don't know, but apart from saying funny, I guess, story, it's just, it beggars belief. But this one, again, I'll put the link below. Please visit the site. As I keep saying, it helps them with their traffic for their advertising revenue. I don't get any sponsorship or anything like that. I'm not paid by these sites. It's just good practice, and I think just good courtesy to, to at least reward these people who are creating this information for us by helping them with their advertising revenue. Anyway, let's get on with the story. So this is from LBC. I'm very surprised they've run this story because they are usually quite far left politically. I don't think James O'Brien of one of the main presenters there is going to be very happy with this, and I'm sure he'll find some sort of crazy excuse for it. But anyway, here's the story. Migrants applying for asylum in the UK are trying to go back home for Christmas. The UK's Border Force chief has told LBC. Phil Douglas said his officers had been left shocked when carrying out exit checks on people leaving the UK. The thing is with this, though, this isn't anything new, by the way. People are going to think, oh my God, I can't believe it's happening, right? For years, this has been happening and it's not just with people who are applying. We have people who have been refugees in this country. Well, they say they're refugees, from countries like, say, Rwanda or Somalia or wherever. They go home on holidays every year, multiple times. So sometimes going back 4, 6, 8 times a year. They're going back home. These people are claiming to be refugees and asylum seekers from these places. Why would you go back to the country that you're fleeing if it's that dangerous? They are laughing in our faces, and they're using us as a wealth extraction island. That's all this is about. Wealth extraction. Anyway, LBC got an exclusive look behind the scenes at how Border Force operates at Luton Airport, one of the busiest for Eastern European airlines in the run-up for Christmas. Well, there's a surprise, Eastern Europeans doing it. He said, "We do find a lot of people who have claimed asylum in this country and are heading back to their own country for holidays, which obviously isn't allowed." Well, it isn't allowed, but they allow it anyway, don't they? Just like, I don't know, people going out and committing serious sexual crimes and then being allowed to have asylum in this country. That's not allowed, but they still let them stay here anyway. Home Secretary James Cleverly told LBC that some of those coming to the UK are economic migrants who are seeking a better life. I think the overwhelming majority of them are economic migrants who are seeking a better life, if I'm honest with you. And I think a lot of it comes from charities and non-governmental organisations briefing these people and training them on what to say and how to stay in the country. He said, "We have always been a very generous country, yeah, generous to a fault." I think it's gone beyond generosity, to be honest with you, what we are, to the point of it being self-harm. To the people who are genuinely seeking protection from persecution, from the war, from violence, who are seeking from persecution, from war, from violence. That has always been the nature of the British people. But we also recognise there are a lot of people who are fundamentally economic. It's not just fundamentally economic migrants. They absolutely are economic migrants. That is it. Period. Put a full stop at the end of that. And I think it, as I say, I think it is the overwhelming majority of them. Send them back. They are coming here because they want better jobs, perhaps. And no, they don't want better jobs. They want handouts. They want freebies. They want social housing. They want to have access to the NHS. They want all the state benefits, and they want to send money home. And then eventually they'll go back home. They are coming here because they want better jobs, perhaps. And what we're saying is if you're coming here illegally, you will not have the right to stay here. You will be sent home. Well, as I've said this before, I don't care what you say. I care about what you do, and what you're not doing is actually doing that. And we haven't done for decades, multiple decades, at least as far back as the early 90s, probably beyond that, to be honest with you. Well, we could actually go all the way back to HMS Windrush, to be honest with you, where those people weren't supposed to come here. The government never brought them, and they had no visas, and the HMS Windrush itself only put them on the boat because they had spare bunks and they wanted to sell tickets, and that's what that was all about. Mr. Cleverly also told LBC that the cash spent on France and Rwanda deals is worth... No, they're not. It's absolutely wasted money. It would be very easy for us just to turn boats around in France and push them back. From France, just push them back. They've got in those boats voluntarily. If they fall in the water, that's their fault. And if they do fall in the water, pick them up and then sail them to France. More than $500 million has been given to France in recent years in a bid to stop the small boats crossing, and more than $350 million has been committed to Rwanda too. That's just $350 million that we might as well made a bonfire out of, because at least then we could have enjoyed the spectacle of it rather than it just going into the pockets of politicians in Rwanda. Despite not a single plane flying off, Mr. Cleverly revealed that the government are not at the moment in discussions with airlines about flying migrants to Rwanda. Don't do airlines. I've said this before, that £350 million could have been spent on jumbo jets. The government could have its own small fleet of jumbo jets, which they use with the border force purely for deporting people back to wherever they've come from. That is what they should be doing with that money. Not doing these stupid, airy-fairy, pie-in-the-sky, overly convoluted ideas of processing people in far-off lands to then get lawyers involved. No, just send them back home. That's the end of it. There have been reports ministers had been struggling to find an airline which would carry them out, but Mr. Cleverly told LBC, "We are not at the stage yet where we can have those commercial negotiations." Well, if you had your own planes, if Border Force had their own fleet of jumbo jets, they wouldn't need to have negotiations with airlines. They could just sort it out themselves, skip the middleman. It's just madness. They work with us at the moment, and there'll be others that will come forward and I'm sure help us operationalise with the Rwanda scheme. Rishi Sunak has said he will look at tightening the new Rwanda legislation in a bid to try and get it past some of his Tory backbenchers who threatened to rebel over it not being tough enough. Mr. Cleverly told LBC that they had already had several constructive suggestions they were looking at. This whole thing with Rwanda is a waste of time anyway, because when Labour get into power, and they will get into power, the Labour will just scrap this Rwanda scheme. They'll just bin it. They'll just shut it down. So this is the problem with the Tories being so weak about this. They care too much about what the opposition think about them, and they are allowing people who fundamentally hate them, and they do. A lot of Labour voters do hate the Tories, including people in the Labour Party, like Angela Rayner in her famous speech of "scum, Tory scum, scum, they're all scum." And that is my impression of her with her lisp, by the way, and I don't care if that offends anybody. She's a scumbag herself. He said, "I'm very proud of what we did in the initial drafting, so we think we're pretty much there. But the whole point of the parliamentary process is for people to feel, to feed in their ideas, feed in their amendments, feed in their thoughts. We've had some very credible suggestions put forward to us. Just do what needs to be done and just move them yourself. I don't want to rush ahead of the process, but the point is the bill is in very good shape already. It's very robust. It's one of the toughest bits of legislation the government has put forward. It's the toughest. But when you look at it, with how weak it actually is, it just shows you the sorry state of our current politics at the moment and how we do deal with illegal migration or even legal migration. There's just absolutely nothing to it at all. It's just hot air. That's all it is. It's hot air written down. If there's a little additional things to make it even better still, we will of course consider that. But what I've always said is attempts like Keir Starmer's stunt to try and kill off the bill before it even started progressing through the House, we will very robustly defend ourselves against that. Just get planes, get your own planes, fly them back yourself. You don't need to keep people in, you could even have it where you only need very small temporary accommodation where you can just put people into for long enough to fill up a plane or even half fill a plane and fly them to whatever country they need to go to. I want this bill on the statute books. I want it to be a success, and I will fight tooth and nail against any parliamentarians who try to kill it off. Well, there wasn't really too much there about that other than what we already know, which is that this country is having the mick taken out of it. A lot of these people who are claiming refugee and asylum aren't refugees or asylum seekers. They merely see us as an economic extraction zone. All they're doing is either coming over here for the free handouts, or as they state in that article, is to get better employment. Either way, I don't really care. Just get rid of them. Get rid of them. Bin them off. Send them home. Like I say, I'm just starting to repeat myself a bit here, but just get planes. Get your own planes and fly them back. Very, very simple. As I say, I'll put the article below. Read it yourself. There is video footage on there and audio recording, so for you to listen to, so you can see a bit better what's been said. I'll leave it at that. Just a bit of a short video, this one. I hope you found that informative at the very least, and take care and goodbye.